Does it feel like this thing is over before we even really get going with the Dak news?
Well, the gut reaction is, of course, it feels that way, but you just have to restore some perspective. It was one game, and now it's on the coaching staff to figure out ways to get creative with the offense. It's not like they were lighting it up. They all played pretty badly. I say all. I mean, I think there were some linemen who played pretty well, but the receivers obviously weren't getting open. I don't think Dak played very well. They were running the ball with some success early, but you've just got to find a way to use all of your weapons, and they didn't do that. I don't know if they tried or not. I'll look at the tape later, but I don't know what they tried to do, but it wasn't working. So you now have to get creative, and sometimes that's where the old saying, necessity is the mother of invention, comes from. So you've just got to find a way to win a few games and stay in the race until Dak is back, and you'll have probably close to half a season if the projections that I saw are correct. I haven't seen any this morning, but I saw them, last night, and stay relevant and see if you can stay in the chase. That's the challenge now. That's what it's all about. But it's certainly discouraging. There's no question about that.
Brad, has Dak's last 6 to 10 games made you rethink the way you feel about him at all, just in terms of what help he needs? Is he a lead? Can he be great? Is he still the guy? Have you had any second thoughts about that over the last 6 to 10 games?
I haven't had second thoughts about whether he's the guy. I mean, clearly he didn't play well last night, and that was disappointing. And the receivers, I don't think helped him very much. And then again, I think the coaching staff has to help him. But it's a great opportunity as an organization to say, okay, are we sure that this is the direction that we're comfortable going? And I still would be. I do think that he may need some help, but every quarterback needs some help.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, heck,
Brady, except Patrick Mahomes.
Well, he's got some help.
Some, yeah, he does.
He's got some help. Come on. Every quarterback needs some help. Now, then the great ones. Is he a great one? Well, he has to prove that, and he hasn't proven it yet. But Sean, my answer to your question would be no. I'm still comfortable going with him.
What has been your thought on the way they approach the backup QB, and do you expect them to stick with Cooper Rush?
Well, I think that, I was kind of wondering if they will stick with Cooper Rush, I'm certain, in the very short term. It'd be interesting to see if Greer gets a renewed opportunity to compete. When you talk about going outside, really, what are your options?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone can think of Garoppolo right away.
Yeah.
But is there anything out there? Keep in mind what the resources will be that you'll have to give up to get someone. And then don't put yourself in the position that we are all in as fans. Think of yourself as you're running a business, and it's going to cost you X to get whatever is out there that you think will be better for the next, what are we saying, 6 to 8 weeks?
Yep.
Okay. What's that going to cost? Get him up to speed and be better with what you have around you, because the receivers are not going to change. So they'll get better. You have to figure out a way to use them better. The young players will be somewhat better. And I still think, I don't know, I can't wait to have a good conversation with Babe about this. He is very much in the mode that this is 2018 pre-Cooper. And I don't feel that way, because they did not, in 2018, they didn't have CeeDee Lamb. And I know that a lot of people, Babe's one of them, thinks that CeeDee Lamb is being a little overvalued. But I think he's pretty good. And they had rookie Michael Gallup, which I think is not as good as, give me, 3 weeks down the road, Michael Gallup. He won't be the same as before his injury right away. but I still think they're better at the receiver position than they were in 2018 when they went out and got when they had to go out and get Cooper, and that cost a couple of number ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're better than that, and so I really think it's on the staff to figure out ways to use what they've got.
Speaking of the staff, does this potentially give Mike McCarthy more security or like job security?
I'm going to say, RJ, it depends how they play. That's a really interesting dynamic that's going on, and he really wants to win here. He really wants to win big here. But I don't know. I don't think Jerry wants to. He certainly doesn't want him to fail, because then if he fails, they all fail.
Right.
And I don't think that he's looking. I think it would be wrong to say that the front office is looking for a reason to replace him, because if that were the case, they could do it now, and they don't want to do that. So I think it depends on how they play it. You can kind of tell if they really dig deep as a staff, led by him, and they completely maximize everything they've got, all their resources. Defense plays better. They function offensively, and it's happened before with backup quarterbacks in the league. So you can be better than the gut feeling is that you're going to be right when the injury happens. You can. And if they really maximize everything, and you can tell they're getting the most out of it, then I think that he I don't know if it gives him more time, but I think that he wouldn't be viewed as harshly as if they failed with what they had. I think it really depends on how they play.
Brad Sham here on The Fan. Some Tolos want us to ask you whether you think total lack of preseason action contributed at all to last night.
The receivers didn't have, except for Lamb, they didn't have a lack of preseason action. So I understand, and I think if I were coaching a team, I might be tempted to have done it the way they did it. And I would say this, and I really think this is an important part of it. When you say a lack of preseason action, almost none of the people saying that were in Denver and Los Angeles with us to watch those practices. They didn't have a lack of preseason action. They had a lack of snaps in preseason games. And it's a crapshoot in a preseason game. And you really don't want to lose a player in a preseason game that doesn't mean anything in terms of its outcome. If it happens like last night, by the way, anybody talking about Connor McGovern and J-Ron Curse? They had a really bad night.
Yeah.
And if it happens in a game like that, then, okay, that's the sport. And if it happens in a preseason game, well, you're really kicking yourself. And I thought that what they did with the practice in Denver and the two with the Chargers was really pretty smart, because they got really good work, and they minimized the injury risk and increased their coaches' control for both teams over the pace of things and how it went. So I'm going to say that the absence of those guys playing in preseason games did not contribute to how it looked last night.
What did you think of Tyler Smith at left tackle, and how do you see this playing out with Jason Peters, taking into account the McGovern injury?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think Tyler Smith played pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, again, I'll look the tape, but I tried to keep sneaking a look over there, and I know Babe was doing that. And, I think he played pretty well. And so the question becomes, if he played well and he's your left tackle of the future, are you better off leaving him there? I'm intrigued by Farniak. I want to see how he played. He's a really bright young man, and I think he has a chance to be a really serviceable player. Peters, played guard 2 years ago in Philadelphia, so I don't know that he wants to do that, but that's an option. And obviously moving Tyler Smith back into guard and putting Peters at tackle is an option also. But to me, it just feels like if Tyler Smith played pretty well, and I think he did, and that's where you want him to be in the future, why wouldn't you leave him there? And, you have to take a real long look at what you got on the practice squad. I think Alec Lindstrom's a pretty good young interior player who's there, who may be active for a few weeks if McGovern has to go on IR for 4 weeks. If Peters were willing to play guard, which is not his favorite, but he did do it a couple of years ago, and I say it's not his favorite. I've never asked him that, but that might be a way to go, because I just think having him around, he's already made Tyler Smith better. I promise you, just by being in practices, being in meetings, and Tyler Smith is smart enough to know what a great teacher he has, because Tyron's just not available right now because of the injury and rehab schedule. So they'll have 2 great teachers, but that's a master class, Jason Peters. And if there's a way to get him on the field at left guard, I don't think I'd be opposed to that, depending how Farniak played. He's a young player, too. I'm not sure I'd want to take away from that development if you thought you could function with him.
Our question, 877-881-1053, for better or worse, okay, mostly worse, what are your complete overreactions to the Cowboys opener? And then things were bad enough, and then Dak got hurt, and you could see Mike McCarthy mouthing some things that made it feel like, he's really, really hurt. Do you want to start? I guess you have to start with Dak. Let's go ahead and go to, do you want to do cut 9 or 10? Let's hear from Jerry on cut 9 on Dak being out and it being a bad day for the Cowboys.
Tremendously disappointing way for us to start the year. Everybody is disappointed about that. I'm particularly disappointed for our fans. Dak will be out for a little while, and so we'll be dealing with that as well. So this was a really tough night for the Cowboys, but and a really surprising night. But of course, really add to it right there at the end to lose him for several weeks. We'll see more about how many weeks that may be.
And then the early results or thoughts are, although they're doing more tests this morning to get us more information, but the thought now, Schefter and Archer were saying maybe closer to 6 to 8 weeks, because it went from a few weeks surgery above his thumb, then to, probably 3 to 4 weeks. And now overnight, it's sort of changed to 6 to 8 weeks. Was that the topper to a just abysmal game across the board?
Yeah, that it was the topper. That definitely was.
The cherry on top.
No, well, it's not a good cherry, but yeah, absolutely, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Man, I thought there were opportunities later in the game to do something, like maybe make something special happen, and you didn't get that because Dak gets hurt. And Cooper Rush, as far as he was throwing the ball, it was too far every time, and that was a problem. The idea of, hey, we got to go to the run game. Kevin, Ezekiel Elliott ran for 5.2 yards per carry.
Wow.
And that's pretty good.
Yeah, I did think there was a couple of stretches where he moved into the second level better than we had seen at chunks of times the last 2 years. Like, I know it's hard to find positives out here, like Micah and what else you got, but there were a couple times where I thought Zeke moved into the second level better than I had seen it for a while.
He had 10 touches from the backfield, though. Like, that's like that's effective.
10 carries.
Yeah, 10 carries. That's effective running. That's what we were asking for. If you're going to say you're going to do it effectively, and they were doing it 5. Leonard Fournette was 6. Okay, that's fine. Tony Pollard, 6 carries, 2 targets. What happened there?
How many of those carries were regular carries, and how many of them were like
it was
fanciful?
1.3 yards per carry,
Okay,
and the trick plays sucked. They weren't even good trick plays. They were bad.
And they were scripted in, right? Because we all understand with football, like the first drive at least is pre-scripted. They kind of have an idea of what they're doing coming out. And they scripted a double reverse that went for like a 7-yard loss or something.
Man, if Tony Pollard can run the way he blocks, nobody's ever going to get him.
No, yeah, he was bad at that.
He is really good at avoiding linebackers and defensive linemen when it comes to actually having to pick somebody up.
So, yeah, man, there were things offensively that I was looking at going, okay, there are positives, but everything else was negative, man. Okay, hold on. I had a few questions, Kevin, to start this thing off. Before the season, can Dak find a number 2 receiver? Did that question get answered yesterday?
Yes, we don't have one. Michael Gallup is hopefully the answer in week 3 or 4 or 5.
And how tough is that real quick? Because Michael Gallup is a good player, but man, oh man, looking across Twitter timelines last night, you would be like, well, at least we have prime Jerry Rice coming back. Like 1988 Jerry Rice is coming back. When I like Michael Gallup. He's a good player, and maybe he is prime Jerry Rice compared to like the separation we saw from the wide receiving core last night. But there was a lot of projection, a lot of expectations on Michael Gallup.
Well, the other thing, too, is Dak, I know he's not playing anytime soon, but he would also have to be accurate enough for Michael Gallup to catch the ball.
That was the other addition to that question. Can Dak find a number 2 receiver? He couldn't. Like he was bad on some of these throws. Early, that scripted first run that they had there were some throws that you were like, okay, good. Nice 7-yard pass there. Hey, nice 7-yard run there. That was nice. And then all of a sudden it's like, Dak, who are you even throwing to, man? Why? What's going on? Where's our quarterback? Where's our franchise QB? And I guess the two things that can be true, Mike, Dak was poor. Tampa Bay was good defensively. Like those two things can be
Both
true at the exact same time, and that's how
yeah.
you get 3 points. Like that's how Dak wasn't good, the offense wasn't good, and Tampa Bay was good defensively last night, which we expected Tampa Bay to be. Did they get to the number, Mike, that you had predicted, or were they way below the number of points that you had predicted for a total?
Oh, actually, I said 20 would win this game.
Yeah.
Okay,
and obviously 4 would have won it. But
no, we still needed to score 20 points.
Oh yeah, but the Cowboys, if they would have scored 20, would have had a chance. But obviously, the last 10 minutes of the game, Tampa's trying to run out the clock. They're not trying to score anymore. And I know people have talked to, everybody's trying to score all the time. And what I've tried to, I guess, say, which I'm not saying it well enough for everybody to understand, when you're going against a team that's bad offensively, and look, I was wrong last year. I thought the Cowboys wouldn't be that great defensively. They were really good defensively last year. But the Cowboys look bad offensively, and now we know they're going to be really bad offensively for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Is you don't have to push the ball or force things, because that could create a turnover, which could put you in an unfavorable situation. And so Tampa, for the last 10 minutes of the game, so people understand, they weren't trying to really score anymore. They're trying to run out the clock so they win the game.
That's probably the most infuriating part, too, is that Tom Brady was bad. The team was bad. They were a bad team last night, and you couldn't beat them. That was supposed to be, aside from Gallup, everything that you have this year, and you couldn't beat a bad team last night.
I didn't think Tom was bad.
You didn't?
No. I thought that they stalled out. I mean, obviously, a lot of stalling out had to do with Micah Parsons, right? I mean, the 2 huge sacks early in the game was Micah Parsons himself stopping a drive. But I hear what you're saying. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't good. I'll give you that. But I thought if Tom
it was
Brady,
poor enough that you should have taken advantage of it. Like he had 212 yards.
If they're going to score 19 points, and I hear what you're saying, but I don't think they could have scored that many more points with how many field goals we held them to. Like, that you should have won that game in normal circumstances, putting aside how crappy we held them in check enough that the Cowboys should have won this game.
Right, yeah. But they didn't even try in the fourth quarter. I'm not saying they would have scored 30, and I'm not saying our defense was bad. Our defense did do a good job of holding them to field goals.
Yeah.
But also,
I think they might have put 6 more points on the board, and that's about it.
And then, Mike, I think that there's something that is worth considering, which is that defense was on the field a good amount because of the offensive ineptitude. And if your offense does not look inept, is your defense on the field that much?
Yeah, I guess I don't want to get into the minutia of things, but they're a better team, even without injuries. Tampa's a better team than the Cowboys.
Well, I mean, like, if we're talking about injuries, I mean, Godwin left the game again. Yeah. Their left tackle left the game. Like, if we're just talking about injuries, that's what I don't want to hear. These injuries are problematic, and they could be problematic for the Cowboys for the rest of the season. And you also mentioned Kearse and McGovern. But Tampa Bay had their own share of problems injury-wise in that game yesterday as well. I do not think injuries whatsoever made the difference in this game.
No. You weren't effective in any way. You weren't effective in any way that was positive for your team, other than that Micah Parsons was good and Donovan Wilson was standing in the right place to get an interception in the game. Like those were the best things that happened on the defensive side of the ball last night. I like Dorrance Armstrong's game a little bit. I thought Tyler Smith looked good at tackle. I wasn't scared of him at tackle, but everything else, man, the Cowboys. Here's the thing, Mike. To the great quarterbacks, you do that stupid jet sweep triple option thing that they did, and you get back -8 yards or whatever. The great quarterbacks can say, "Okay, I'll take care of it." And I didn't believe that Dak would be able to take care of it from there. I'm like, okay, crap. Now what are we going to do? You get an interception, you go say, all right, we're going to go make them pay for it. You turn the ball back into their hands and say, all right, we got to punt. You had a huge opportunity to go do. I got the notes on this one. You had a huge opportunity to go make a really big drive and put yourself in really good position. Lamb gets a pass interference call. You draw a stupid draw play up on 1st and 20. You pass to Houston. You still need 10 yards to get it on 3rd down, and then Dak gets picked. And that's a crappy series right there. That's a crappy series to say, you know what, we're going to go out here and we're going to go make an impact in this game. You just held them. They missed a huge field goal. They missed a huge field goal up 6-3. This is your opportunity to go say, we're at home. Let's make a big drive. Pass interference, stupid draw play. You get not enough to even get good on 3rd down, and then Dak gets picked off. That's a crappy series, and I don't know. That's game calling right there, and that's ineffective play and undisciplined play right there.
And it actually felt like by the time he got to halftime, it was really weird. It's 12-3. Golly, it felt like that game was over. Which is probably, I see how it played out. That was probably fair. But at the time, my brain was going back and forth with, it's only 9 points. The game's not over. And then my other part of my brain's like, did you watch that first half? This game is over.
And Tom Brady is the best in NFL history at this. Every time they defer, which Bill Belichick deferred every time, and Tampa does the same, and they got the ball back with, I don't know, 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. I can't remember exactly, but to get a field goal and they get the ball back to start the second half, I'm like, how does Tom Brady do this every time? Every playoff game, no matter what, no matter you say he's playing good, he's playing bad, if he's thrown an interception or haven't thrown an interception, he always seems to like, hey, I'm going to get the ball to start the second half, and I'm going to make sure this last possession we get points on the board, and then I'm going to take the ball in the 3rd quarter and try to get points on the board to start. So I get double possession to score. And so I thought that field goal to make it 12-3 was actually really big, that you were down by 2 scores going into halftime. And then I kept thinking to myself, God, how are we going to score? And obviously the answer was, we're not even going to get close. Did we even get close to scoring in the second half? Was there ever a possession where we got close?
I mean, that 4th quarter possession when Tampa Bay was like, you can do whatever the hell you want. I was like, here we go, baby.
And we got 10 thoughts.
Yes.
10 thoughts.
Yes. I only asked for 1. They brought me 10.
Top 10 at 420.
Got a whole lot of hit me up. Ask me where they at. Finally got an answer. Zach knows, bro.
He's
bogarting all the thoughts.
He knows. A lot of thoughties. Gents, if I had to just ask you for your number 1 thought from the game yesterday.
Tell him more.
And Lucius, I know you watched this one because I saw it via the socials. I was like, oh my gosh, Lucius is actually watching this Cowboy game.
Yeah, don't tell nobody else.
This is a big.
It's the last time we talk about this.
Don't worry, it's a safe space. Yeah. Nobody's listening. It's just you and I, and Broadus, and Eric, and Gavin, and everybody else in the world.
And that's it.
That's it. What'd you think, man?
You asking me?
I'm asking you.
Yeah, that was the worst Cowboy game I've ever seen. What are you talking about?
There we go. Boom.
There's the worst Cowboys game I've ever seen. 100%. They finally done it. You finally done it, buddy. They're getting the pitchforks out for you.
Jeez, on night 1, too.
Yeah, can you imagine the next 6 weeks if you're Dak, like, listen to all this, you can't do anything about it. You know you're super driven, so you're already ticked off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you made a crystal.
Yeah.
You just now found that out for real?
Yeah. I mean, it looked like
I say that respectfully too.
I know.
It looked like you were unbreakable for 4 years, and now every time we turn around, it's something else.
It is, man. It's like just when you feel like you get one thing fixed, something else cracks, and there's a leak, and you got to find a Band-Aid. Now your quarterback's hurt, and our pets' heads are falling off. Yeah. Nothing's getting fixed.
No.
All right, let's go through these top 10 thoughts. We start with one we knew. Okay, and this was a fun one. He's an absolute savage, and it's just that Micah Parsons is as good as advertised.
The champ is here.
I'm feeling good about the over-under that I have with Bobby Belt.
Yep.
15.5 sacks is the over-under we set. I said, Bobby, we're going with the over.
At 15.5 over?
15.5.
Wow.
Bobby said under. Loser has to shave the beard. Now, for Bobby, that's not a big deal because he does shave it, although I think we both look like schmucks with the beard shaved.
It's always, he regrets it every time.
And
Just like McCarthy regretted it when he was on the sideline with his bare bone face last night. Let's go back to the beard here.
Rodgers didn't even notice until we were rewatching this game right now. He's like, did McCarthy shave the beard? I'm like, yes, he shaved the beard.
It's on the screen
I
right
didn't
now.
see him up close until we were down in the Miller Lite Club and he was up at the podium.
Gross.
Yeah, he tried to sneak it by doing the high collar sort of turtleneck thing to just cover as much neck and face as possible because he knew he regretted it. I mean, maybe it was a simple situation where McCarthy's doing the trim up and the guard falls off, and then you
got to commit.
Gosh, just the worst feeling in the world. So to his credit, maybe this was unintentional shaving down to the bone, but
accidental.
It was less than ideal for him. Did you see Micah Parsons #1 in the sport over the weekend in terms of ESPN's pass rush win rate? Hello, by a solid 13%.
Let's go.
#1 in the sport. Sadly, #2 was Shaq Barrett.
So
he's a
dang
buck.
it.
Yeah, he's a buck.
So what are we doing as far as moving him to edge full time, Brian?
It felt
Pretty
like
compelling case, isn't it?
they did a lot of that.
They
last
moved him
night.
around. They started him off though. You mentioned about Wirfs. That was the bad idea in my mind. And we talked about attacking the middle. They got some of that in there. I think he got a few pressures from there. But then they kicked him on the other side, and he's the reason why Smith, the left tackle, got hurt because he ran him into Tristan Hill, and Tristan Hill hit Smith's elbow, and that just messed him up and knocked him out of the game. So, yeah, I think they have to keep moving him around. I just wish they would find spots where whoever the weakest link is on that offensive line, just attack that guy. And, I'm questioning Dan Quinn. I think the world of Dan Quinn. But I think they started him off against the Buccaneers' best offensive lineman, and there were some wasted reps early in that football game, and then they figured out to move him to the other side, and it worked out a lot.
He
better
beat
for him.
Wirfs though at least once.
Yeah,
that I remember.
but there was. But
you're right.
But the other
matchup
time,
wise, you'd much prefer him on the other side.
Go the other side. And I know Smith. They got quality tackles. That's why I was talking about attacking the middle of that pocket.
Yeah, the A and B gaps. Yeah, absolutely.
And they did a few.
Go after those young guards.
Leighton Vander Esch is good though. I was impressed with him.
Yeah, Vander Esch played well.
The sad thing about Leighton Vander Esch is he's having his best games when they lose.
Just as we say that, they won 7.
Let it breathe for a moment, my God.
It is true, but it allows Micah to be freed up as we move forward.
Sorry, brothers. I'm just saying.
What happened?
Well, he was getting a good Bravo Zulu, and in the middle of the Bravo Zulu, you stepped on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you said, well, it's only during the bad games.
You're just joking.
It's jokes. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
Please don't fight me, brothers, bro.
I'm sorry. I'm just.
I can
I've been
see,
up
man.
since 6 this morning doing this. Yeah.
I'm not the Cowboys, bro.
Broadus is gonna start sounding like Chris Collinsworth in 5 minutes.
That was about 3 hours of sleep.
He's got a frog in his throat.
Somebody get him some damn honey tea last night. I couldn't believe it. Like there was nobody with some broadcast savvy in the whole damn press box to help that man out.
Where was Jason Garrett?
Yeah,
I was at the game, so I didn't hear, but I'm seeing on Twitter, it's like, wow, Chris Collinsworth sounds as bad as Dak looks tonight, and I'm like, okay,
if I was
he
the
must sound
producer,
terrible.
had I been producing, I would have said, man, this is going to be a solo act tonight. We got to get a new football
just
player
going
up here or
Tirico?
something. Yeah, we can't do this.
Man.
Mike could have done it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
They call Gruden.
Yeah. John, get in here with your boy boy Mike.
We know you're somewhere nearby. Should put Broadus up there in the booth. What the hell, man?
I was talked out.
Broadus had enough.
Speaking of which,
He's had enough.
yeah, he is.
It's not just that he's only getting 3 hours of sleep. It's that for the other 21 hours, he's just consistently
We got a damn good
Podcasting or
podcast. So it was
broadcasting?
He's
6 in the
just
morning. We had a
loving the
podcast.
star.
Loving the
giving
star.
takes in the middle of the night. It's like you can wake up at any moment in the world.
Oh, we
you
had
can
a-
find
we had
Broadus
a-
speaking somewhere about the Cowboys.
We had a writers roundtable in the media lot at 2:30 last night.
Oh, that's
With all
where it's at.
They're all standing there yelling at each other.
That's
Did you flip
amazing.
over the
Yeah.
table?
Oh yeah, there was flipping over the table. Clarence Hill was making everybody flip over the tables and stuff like
Oh,
that.
for sure.
Calvin. Calvin was,
You didn't just get to your car as soon as possible. You
No,
stood around and
I
talked
st-
more
I stood
off
around
the
it.
clock.
Did Calvin go up to Brady James
They
and say,
had-
how many damn tackles did I miss tonight, Brady?
Did you just play that on a loop for the rest
Yeah,
of
I
the
know,
show?
forever, bro.
it's Mac Engel.
Every
and
Cowboy
Calvin.
fan.
There was Todd Archer. We were all standing there just yelling at each
man.
other the whole time.
Well, let's rip through some of these.
Couple of darts. I mean, just
Could
passing around the passing around the
absolutely.
smokes.
Yeah, could have.
That's weed.
I needed a cigarette at halftime after that game.
Oh, jeez. Number 2, Dak looked uncomfortable. I think that's being kind. Dak looked atrocious, and he's a good man, but he played horrible. Number 3, CD was flat. CD should be embarrassed. I mean, his draft class running mate, Justin Jefferson's like a bleeping cheat code out there. He's lining up in the slot. He's lining out outside. He almost has 100 yards lining up out wide and in the slot. Kevin O'Connell's lining up like anything he wants for Justin Jefferson. He looks like the best receiver in football. CeeDee Lamb looks scared to catch the football, basically.
No, I'm not.
He's wearing the 8. I mean, CeeDee, you need to step the bleep up. I'm
He's
getting
tired
sick
of
and tired
guessing
this.
where it's coming.
Ooh.
You got to get CD the ball, and it builds upon itself like an avalanche. Okay?
All right.
You're trying to trigger
All right.
an avalanche
All right.
by throwing rocks into the
Let's
valley.
make the
You got to
excuses
hit the
for CeeDee Lamb
GD
now.
Mountain.
Okay.
Crying out loud.
It's all Dak.
Bro, we can't even run a bubble screen without running into the ass of our tight end for an incompletion.
Well, and we're blocking before we need to be. I mean, it's bad.
I will say about Justin Jefferson though, Kevin O'Connell, like
he did a great job.
You see what happens. Like there's freeze frames of Justin Jefferson with not a Packer in sight.
Well, and he's getting him in motion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what
amazing
when we're
what
talking
happens.
about the offensive coordinator and the play calling and how you scheme things here. You know, that's what we're talking about with Kellen Moore. You know, figure it out, buddy. Number 4, the defense has kept them in the game early. 100% they did.
Gave up a lot of yards running. Though.
I am.
They did, but they figured out run to Trayvon Diggs' side right, and Trayvon wants no part in the run game.
Their edge game was really, really good. The downs and around is what they did, and yeah, they put the big guys out there in space, and they were able to.
Because Quinn Bohanna and Osa Digizua I felt like they held their own in the middle, and then as soon as they were hit the edge, that's where all right, we got a problem.
I hate that we're 5 seconds into the season and we already have a get it together buddy from Wolchuk. You know, I was hoping we could at least get to week 4 or 5 before Wolchuk was spouting off get it together buddies. But we're 4 seconds into this thing, man. It's gonna be a hell of a season.
What's your deal, pal? What's your deal, pal?
Sorry.
Get
Sport.
it together,
I love you,
buddy.
CD, and I'm a jerk.
No, you
can
said
hit me in the
See,
face.
You said he should be embarrassed, and I think you might have said he should be ashamed of himself.
Well, I'm embarrassed.
And I'm proud of you for that.
Number 5, the protection was solid. Do we agree?
Well, I mean, Shaq Barrett
times.
second in the sport with
at times.
It held up at times.
It was better than I was thinking it was going to be.
I agree.
Now, my expectations were bottom of the
Now,
barrel
the quarterback's got a broken thumb, but it was okay.
Yeah.
You know, it was
He had
all right.
A couple of guys in his kitchen. But I will say, yeah, I was expecting it to be much worse.
It could have been worse. Yeah.
Number 6, what's up with the bleeping false starts? And I'm looking at you, Terrence Steele, and his ass should be benched. Seriously.
Shut up!
He should be benched.
He works out a lot in the offseason.
Oh, it's the try hard guy. This is the NFL. You try hard, so you should be rewarded by starting for the Dallas Cowboys? No, this isn't. We're just going to give you trophies, and we're going to go ahead and pat you on the back and say, attaboy, because you're working hard in the offseason.
Don't let this
He
game
had about
define
4
you.
penalties in the same drive and screwed the football team. Not to mention he's getting his ass beat out there. Start somebody else. I'm done with the Terrence Steele experiment. I wanted it to work.
Why are you looking at me when you're saying all this?
It didn't work.
Wolchuk is in his bag right now, boys. I just want to. The Cowboys are clearly not but Wolchuk's in midseason form. This is incredible.
Leonard Fournette was grinding. He did 21 carries for 127 yards and 6 yards per carry. Don't tell me about fat Fournette.
No,
all right?
I saw him.
He looked like a lean, mean machine.
He did.
Bowling ball bouncing off everybody.
Way less fat than I was anticipating.
Number 8, Dak's hand. Yeah, we're all talking about Dak's hand. You know what? He probably shouldn't come back. Let's get the number 1 pick. Number 9, can't beat Brady.
Prescott.
Yeah, we can't beat Brady. Brady owns us and everybody else.
After his performance last night, I think if you want to tank, you need Dak to play as much as possible this year, dog.
That's a good point.
Ouch.
Dang.
And number 10, the Cowboys are probably going to get last place in the NFC East. Everyone else just want to know, Cowboys are the cellar dwellers. Do we think they're going to find a way to climb out of this thing?
I think so. Although, did you see Dayball get a hold of his quarterback and actually make him clutch?
It was pretty incredible.
Somebody just needs to grab somebody by the face max and say, do better, son. He was like, all right, got it, coach.
They got 2-point conversions. The crotch first Giant confidence right now is insane. My favorite stat of the weekend was the Giants now find themselves for the first time since 2016 with a record that is above 500. So it's been a hell of a 7-year run for
Also,
Gentlemen's.
Anthony Barr needs to change his damn number. 42 looks horrible on him.
He didn't play very well.
I like this.
I agree with that.
Play very
So,
Venting Wolchuk. Crack a couple of coldies,
Here
young
we
man.
go. I'm going to go.
Tear him up.
I got some Miller Lite here for you if you need it.
I got a Rangers game to do. They're going to frown upon me for that, but we can talk off the air.